Hello viewers, Paul Hogan style, hello from Australia. This is Tarot as Art, Angela Williams. This is my second video and I'll be doing the hashtag 54321 that was started a while ago, I think about 8 months ago, by Kelly Bear. I think it's an old one, but I think it's a good one to showcase decks and ideas and just share some tarot love, I guess. So we've got 5 tarot decks in a genre, 4 books related to tarot, 3 spreads, 2 bits of paraphernalia, and I'll be doing perhaps a piece of advice. So let's start because it might get too long. So I guess the genre in terms of my grouping that I would like to look at, I think I'd like to look at how the divine feminine or the feminine principle is celebrated in my 5 decks, because I believe that's what they're doing, and we'll go from there. Okay, so the first one I'm going to look at is the Goddess of Love Tarot by Gabriella Herzig, and the gorgeous images by Julia Popescu. This is a great deck. I mean, I absolutely love it. And I think what Gabriella is doing, and she's, I think, on Instagram for those that want to follow her. This is my deck. I've modified my deck. I've edged it in this sort of rose gold. I did see Tarot Math edge hers, I think, in a strange blue colour, and then I think she did the moon. I hope that was you, Tarot Math, but not someone else. I don't know about that, but I don't think she was that happy with it. But anyway, I think mine worked. I think red would work just as nicely, but I stuck with sort of the pink theme, and I went from there. So these are just some cards from this beautiful, beautiful deck. I hope that we can just zoom in a bit more with the cards so you can have a good look. But what she does is she uses the deck to celebrate, I guess, forms of love, forms of spirituality as it's linked to perhaps sometimes sex, eroticism, and it just covers that sort of gamut. That pedagogy of the divine feminine, which is just something that I find very interesting. Hopefully we've got, so she's got the crone there, and she's got I think the witch as the suit, the crone, the witch, that might be the knight, that might be the king, the queen, and I think she's got the maiden as well, where the normal sort of, hey, there it is, the Maiden of Wands. Look at these cards, and they're so exciting. They're just wonderful. And I think the collage style artwork that she uses, again, big influence would have to be Dali. But this is like totally done on a professional level and an artistic level, an original level. I just love it. And I think the deck certainly does celebrate the feminine principle and the darkness and the light that comes with that. There is light with that as well. You know, it's not always the dark feminine. It's there's the light feminine as well. Everything's it's got 2 extremes, which are the polar opposite of this, of sort of center. The Queen of Wands, and I'll finish off with the beautiful Sun. With the Eye of Horus. I don't know if that's Bastet, but there's a lot of lines in this. I think this is just as a mass market deck. Wow, what a surprise. And card quality, great. Nice size cards for me anyway. And just a nice thickness, not too big. You can shuffle the deck and go from there. And the mod is good too. So I got that deck last year from the Mind, Body and Spirit Festival, actually, and I will be a participant in the Mind, Body and Spirit Festival. I'll be reading on the weekend, so hopefully no one will come and see me that's watching me on Instagram. But yes, I will be there. I got invited to go, which was really good. Anyway, moving along, the second deck that we can probably look at is the She-Wolf Tarot. This has been, look at that, beautiful deck. This is by the Devaney Wolf. And again, hopefully some right cards will come out. Yeah, where the Divine Feminine is in most of the cards. I think that's right. I think you're seeing it right. And yeah, just trying to get that right. Like even in the Hermit, Nine of Wands. Ace of Pentacles. She really does. I hope I can find her in this deck, actually. I'll just have a quick look off camera to see if I can. The Devil. Oh, the Lovers. If I can find her, because I think she really looks at the whole idea of the male gaze, which I'll talk about later with John Berger and all his sort of analyses and deconstruction of imagery. And she really turns that around on its head with how women are perceived, perhaps, or how the female is perceived. And she's looking directly at the camera when she's, here it is, filming herself. That's what I wanted to get to. And I think that is a very interesting, subversive sort of position to be in, where she's holding the world and looking straight back at the viewer, because they are quite, let's call them voyeuristic cards. And in being voyeuristic, it touches on what Berger sort of started and what a lot of the feminist critics ran with later, which was the male gaze, and how the male gaze perceives cinema is a great example, and how the pleasure principle becomes involved in when an image is created and when you're looking at it, what it's trying to do. And I think she uses that image of the female and the feminine and the divine feminine. She also turns it around and says, yeah, well, I'm looking at you too, looking at me. So there's a whole business of the male gaze and the female gaze as well in this deck. And I think it's quite a subversive intellectual process that she's going through. And she should be very proud of this deck, and the Serpent Fire as well. But they're the beautiful backs, and she's got like the Egyptian motifs there as well, sort of a bit like a Poochie scarf. I must use some of those sometimes. I've got some of those vintage as well, which I can lay down, because I had some comments on the scarf as well. So for those of you that have decided to subscribe, and thank you very much for doing that. Okay, third deck. Okay. Here it is, the Vintage Barbie deck. It is, I think at the moment, I don't see that this is out at all. I got it before lockdown, before COVID, from Etsy, from a creator. I found it by fluke. I wasn't really looking for it, but anyway, it came out and I thought it was just brilliant. And it took a while to get here. And what she said is that she got it through cereal boxes. That's where she got her images from, back and front, and created this marvelous deck. Now, she does have an understanding of tarot, so a lot of them are very, very on song. Some of them, as with curated decks, you wonder what was she thinking when she chose this one, this particular image. But you know, I mean, for it once. Barbie gets married. Where's Ken? Oh, God. The Chariot, that's fantastic. So, you know, you can see the vintage colours, and it's a great deck. And it reads quite well. It doesn't read bad. So, highly recommended. And I guess the feminine principle of, you know, there's Ken. You know, Barbie doing everything that she can to be absolutely wonderful. Here she is as the Queen of Wands. She's even got a black cat. You know, Barbie turned into a power icon for the feminine principle, and now has gone through this big resurgence with the film. And there is a deck with the film, but, you know, as usual, I like these sort of vintage decks a little bit better. And this one in particular, I've been offered a lot of money for, but I will not part with it. So that is that. Then I thought I would show again, I would showcase the moon shadow, the back of the card, I think cartouches with the moons. And this is Danielle Noel's deck as well, and I think it celebrates the feminine principle. Again, it uses many female images and imagery in terms of the cards, not just with it, like the Knight of Swords here is a female, and it celebrates it's interesting, you know, she's got the Five of Wands there, and she's got the three women, and that usually that card does indicate a bit of competition. She seems to be competing with herself, maybe, I'm not sure, but certainly it's overloaded with heavy images. So I think it does fit well in this category. I mean, Death, she's got, again, a female presence there. Even the Fool here with a sort of wolf. She might trip, I don't know, but yeah, so this is just, I think Danielle Arnold's done a superb job. Just the colour schemes, the softness in the colour schemes in this particular one is just divine. You've got lavenders and purples and pinks and sort of a goldeny brown type scenario. Nine of Pentacles. I really love this deck, and I love using this deck, and I love reading for this deck, and I like reading for this deck with clients. They often choose it. Sometimes it's just about finding your way. But yeah, so these are some just wonderful decks that celebrate that, the beautiful, mystical, intuitive, gilded by the, they come gilded. They come like that. And like that. So, where I think the creators just want to celebrate that. And you've got Nefertiti and a lot of divine goddesses in all these decks, the Goddess of Love Tarot. The final one I want to do in relation to this might be a little bit controversial because it's not a tarot, it's an oracle. And I've chosen it because it can't be overlooked and is probably the best oracle that you can... I have to have a cup of tea because, you know, that's my cat, my Russian blue on the... You've got to have a cup of tea. And I'm slurping and I'm thirsty. So there we go. Now, why it's controversial? Well, really, it's the Red Seeds Tarot. So let's have a look at that. And these are three volumes of it. So I've edged them so you can see the three different volumes. They come not edged. They come in that normal sort of creamy colour, beigey sort of colour. So yeah, I've got a sort of a rose edge, I've got a sort of a silvery coppery edge and a failed silver edge, which I'll go over because it just didn't come out as nicely. It does happen a few times, but these are the three decks, and the three decks celebrate divine goddesses as oracles, and many of them are Greek, some of them are Celtic, and then you get some Hindu ones and Babylonian ones, but I think the majority do come out Greek. And you have the beautiful, you have a quote in each of the trilogy. So in this particular trilogy, you get Marion Woodman and her quotes in regard to, let's say, the goddess Rhea. And then at the bottom, you get like the challenge, which here is rejection, and the gift, comfort. And you get many like that. So you've got Rhea and there. Then you may have, we're looking at another grouping, and that grouping has Rumi as the quotes, and he's just fantastic. And it has, again, many goddesses, and the artwork is just spectacular. And again, if we're looking at the picture, what do we see? Do we see nude or naked? And probably naked in all its honesty. That these goddesses don't need clothing because they're coming to you in their authentic, true self. And these are some of the notes you can see. I'm essence, I'm returning, I'm fire. So I am love. So I am love. You turn around, you get Venus is the goddess that comes with this card. The challenge is trust and the gift is love. Wherever you are and whatever you do, be in love. Rumi. How beautiful is that? These cards are outstanding. I love them, and that's why I put them in this series. And there's no other deck. I think that's an oracle deck. There's many goddess oracle decks, but this trilogy in particular, the writing of Linda Hill, I was going to say Linda Hill, is, and the comprehension of the goddesses and the work she's done behind this is just to die for. Absolutely to die for. And I think I've got let's see, the third one here is by Sappho. So the quotes are by Sappho. We get Athena, the challenge, vagueness, the gift, objectivity, and I am reason. And again, she goes through the goddesses. I am strong. And you have to turn them around. And the Sappho's quotes are just divine. The challenge, stagnation, the gift, inspiration. And boy, are these inspiring. I just love them. I'm guided, and they're well worth the investment. Especially when you get questions with querents and not just personal readings. They really are something special and authentic. And I think Linda Hill is an absolutely brilliant deck creator, and I know she's got her I'm looking to get her tarot decks next. I think the Eleusinian Mysteries and Dionysus and Ariadne. I don't know if that's their proper names, but that's the core of what they're about. And I think she's also another person who loves Carl Jung, so we'll get to that in a minute. So they're the 5 decks that I think celebrate beautifully the divine feminine principle. And I think there are many female deck creators, and that'll be another post. There's many modern ones, and even the Pixie with Arthur Waite, and of course Lady Frida Harris with Crowley can't be ignored. But they're deck creators, creating decks. These ones particularly, I think, are celebrating the divine feminine. And if you do get a chance to look at them, you can go into them in more depth than I have here. I just wanted to showcase some of them and start that way. So the next section is 4 books. Now I have to have another sip of tea. 4 books about tarot. Well, this, again, this will be controversial because they won't be strictly about tarot, but they will be about tarot reading. So let's start. I'm going to start with John Berger. Okay, Ways of Seeing. I think the only way to understand John Berger is to maybe watch the BBC series or even read the book. I think watching the series might be easier because I think he really does go into it. But I guess what we're really looking at here is imagery. So what are tarot cards? Tarot cards are images on cards. How do we look at those images? Now, I think that is important to deconstruct your ways of viewing and what you're seeing. And I think reading him, and if you haven't read him before, and understanding basic concepts like the pleasure principle of imagery, the male gaze, the female gaze that came later, all his studies that led to that, looking at an artwork not just in the piece that it exists outside of the framework of society, but exists within the framework of the political, socio-economic climate where it is actually developed. And I guess in that sense, he's a Marxist analyst, and in that sense, maybe I am too. And, you know, all my uni years, unfortunately, by Marxism, I mean to deconstruct something and look at the socio-economic, psychological, the whole gamut of what's going on in a picture. So when a picture, especially with Marcier, when something's created in the 17th century, it's not we're looking at it with modern eyes, but what was the intention at the time of when that was painted? And how did people understand the codes that were written in the image? What were they seeing and what were they feeling, and are they current today? And I think all those concepts are pertinent and important to tarot. When we buy tarot decks, whether they're US games or whether they're indie decks or other mass-produced decks, I think you need to give respect to the creator themselves in terms of what their intention is with the deck. Okay, you can pick up a reading from a deck, but I can't be reading every deck strictly as a Rider-Waite deck that's in that sort of lineage. Because I think, for instance, the Goddess of Love Tarot is trying to talk about other things, and am I deconstructing those images as well? And I can deconstruct colour. I can deconstruct, why is the deck bathed in pinks and reds, I guess, and root chakra maybe type colours as well. So to understand the intention of the creator, I think, is important, and to stand within the times is important, because we may find that some decks that are coming out in the last year or so, with all the politics that are going on around the world that are so horrific, I think we may find that there's some kind of movement towards a certain type of deck, and there could be one where it could be why Greek mythological decks, for instance, having a super revival at the moment. What are we finding in those? What truths are we finding that are classical and timeless? And what reason do we find with their logic? And also with their warnings of excess and justice. So there's a lot to it, and I think when you start reading books like this, where you start working within the pedagogy and the ideology of breaking something down fully and not just looking simply at the physical image that's presented to you, you may find that you get much more out of a card, out of a deck. Not all decks are created equal either. I can't look at a unicorn deck and experience anything serious, but other people do. So, you have to also look within yourself with the eyes that you're looking through. My training I can't pick it up. Like I can't pick a unicorn deck up seriously and sit and do a reading for a client. I can't. And it may be that they are, and I have a lot of problems with a lot of other decks like that, but that's just me and not everybody. But certainly the Marcier decks and classical decks like that, it is worthwhile reading up on, okay, for instance, like the Bacchus Tarot, which is Flemish, what was going on? Why was the Pope replaced with the Bacchus card? And I think, any sort of, anyone can sort of try and work that out, but you can go into the history and find out what exactly, it's a backhander. and it's backhanded to the church and the Catholic Church in particular with the Pope. So there's a lot of things in the cards that if you want to read them properly, I do think you can deconstruct them, and they are pieces of artwork, and I encourage people to read this book. So in a sense, it is about tarot. Now, so we'll go to something different from that one. The best book ever written on tarot, 78 Degrees of Wisdom, Rachel Pollack. Is there a better book? I don't know. I don't think there is a better book. Others may disagree. I don't think there is a better book on helping a tarot reader understand tarot than 78 Degrees of Wisdom. If you've never picked up a deck, I don't care. Pick up the book, read it, and then read it again if you don't understand it. But her concept and understanding of Jewish mysticism, Christian mysticism, alchemy, hermeticism, world cosmic ideologies is quite intense. And the story she weaves in terms of the journey of the Fool took tarot out of strictly reading as cartomancy and into self-transformation. And she was, I think, the leader in that journey. And she writes, I think, with a distinctly female voice as well. I don't think it's a masculine voice, and I don't think it's a female voice trying to be a masculine voice. I think it's a voice of understanding of human nature, and it is the best book ever written on tarot. And I know there's people, I have seen the videos and stuff on YouTube that disagree, and that's fine too, but this book will make you a better reader. And if I had to pick one book out of the four, it's going to be this book. So that's how highly I rank it. So that's there. Now, 2-in-1. I've got 2-in-1 because I couldn't separate them and they need to be read. So I ring with a Jungian perspective. I read tarot for helping people, for personal development and helping others. Man and his symbol, and psychology and the occult. Jung brought tarot into the world of psychology and Jung was a philosopher as much as he was a pioneer in psychology and what he was talking about. And I think Jung is the one that talks about science and statistics as used to manipulate the collective into believing a type of that there is no sort of energies going on in the world outside of those that we can see and that are material. And whatever those energies may be, I think Jung opened the door to taking them seriously and taking the practices that try and tap into those energies seriously. And that's what tarot is. I mean, tarot is trying to tap into unseen energies by increasing your level of intuition, let's call it, and psychic ability, and grabbing what messages come out of that. And I think he started taking it to another level. And I think Jung, in terms of synchronicity, in terms of the unconscious, in terms of just moving beyond even Freud and the sexual drive, which can't be denied in Jung's work either, but just moving through that into something even more mysterious that he was trying to crack open. And I think that once you read Jung, you'll use the cards to try and uncover those types of, or bring forward things that are not evident, are not in the persona, and that maybe are causing some kind of malfunction or problem. And I think that's all part of the talk therapy that tarot becomes and is, because tarot is talk therapy. That's what it is. it may be looking into the future as well, and it is card. I'm not taking that away from tarot, but mostly it's talk therapy. And I think Jung opened the door to that as well. So that's one, let's say. So there's three. And I think the fourth book, if we want to go to the other extreme, I'm in the Tarot Guild. And part of the Tarot Guild is we have Ruana Marie Segal. I hope you can see that book there. I don't know if I can make it any... I'll just try and lift it a little bit. Because the next book's bigger. Tarot Distinctions. A comprehensive exploration into the ancient wisdom of the tarot. Now, we've gone from the philosophical and the ideological and maybe slightly abstract to the total practical. This woman writes with an everyday voice, easy to understand, laid out with a lot of space, which is great. And she talks about each card. And she talks about each card with an understanding, a practical understanding and a knowledge. She has keywords for each card. She's got quotes. She's got movie references. What hasn't she got? It's fantastic. The fool now learns about his place in the world and begins to fall in love. The lovers. And then she goes into the numerology of each card, the astrology, mythology, symbology, and she uses the Rider-Waite deck to do this. And I think for any beginner, this would be a great book, but not for just a beginner. I consult it as well, because sometimes you get some tricky cards in tricky positions, and it's like, oh, let's see what Rowana would say about this, you know, on a sort of very down to earth level. She will help you read for others very quickly. It's a great book. It's a great book, and it's nice rose petally. If you like that thing, I don't love it. I've said it before. But it's fantastic, and she's Australian, and I think she's from Melbourne, and I bought it directly from her, so I don't know if it's on Amazon or anything like that, but it might. I think it is. And it's well worth the money if you do buy it. It's a great book. And another one, the final one, is my Christmas present to myself. Now, is this going to fit in frame, or is this going to... Oh, the camera's knocked. That's not a good sign. Does it fit in the frame? Yeah, I guess it does. Here we go. Taschen, The Library of Esoterica. Wow, I'm like one of those old aristocrats with those weird books, you know. But this is... Look at this. They're keys, by the way. And I've got my salt lamp here, so it's putting some light on here because it's very dark, and I don't want to put a light overhead because all it does is create shine. But oh, here we go. Well, we're starting with the oracle. That's from the Tankini, the Tantric Dakini oracle. Wow, the deep end. I just took a photo of that card recently. Stepping into oblivion. I didn't even know that was on the first page. I haven't had a time to even go through this in a lot of great detail, but this is gorgeous. The Cancella. This goes through the Cagliostro, or I don't know how, Cagliostro. I never know how to pronounce that. I need help with the pronunciations. This is a beautiful coffee table book. It's more than that. It goes through all the pictures and the decks and the deck creators, and I think handle. I think it's brilliant, and every tarot lover should get the book and have it in their bookshelf, or ask someone to gift it to them, because I think that there's a lot in it. And I've got many of tarot art books, and this is so far my favourite. So that's the tarot. Okay, so that's 4 books, which I sort of cheated because I sort of put in 2 as one, but Carl Jung, yeah, and he is a pioneer. Now, 3 spreads. Okay, so let's get some cards out so we can do some spreads. So maybe what I'll start with is I'll try and use a smaller deck of cards, because because it'll be easier, but maybe we'll try and flip up a bit higher so we can do this. Okay, so I'll do my Celtic cross, and this is one version. I do about 3 versions of the Celtic cross. This is one version I like to do for shorter reads, which I would call like outside of the 3 card spread, which I would only do for a 15-minute read because it's boring. I like positions and I like the cards to tell us and speak to us. So I'll only do a 3 card spread if it's quick. Okay, so let's give the cards a bit of a shuffle, but my intention is for this to be a demonstration reading, and I don't want any truths to come out, okay? No truths, just a demonstration. And this is the beautiful Morgan Greer tarot in a tin, so hopefully it'll fit. So let's do this Celtic that I do. I think Pisky does and a few other readers do on YouTube, and I find that it's effective. These would stand up normally, but I just want to fit them in the screen. So I put them out like that. So that's there. And I would normally also get an oracle at the end as well. Let's see what that says. Okay, so this is how I would normally lay it down. The backs are important to me. I always lay the backs of the cards out, and this would be the current energies that are concerning the querent, and this would be something challenging, or not blocking, but a challenge, what the challenge is about, what the energies are facing. Sort of in a negative sense, because people come in to read tarot not because they want to confirm how happy and great their life is, but usually it's to answer questions about things that they're not so happy with. So he's facing forward. If I had a card that faced a certain way, I would then direct these cards accordingly. So this would be in this case, I'm putting this as the near future, and I'm putting this as the recent past. So that would be the position. Now this position is sort of the further with this position here in the attitudes, what the attitude of the querent is, or more of what the position that the querent is coming from. Let's put it that way. And so in this case we have the Tower. And it's all related. It's really all related to the central cross. Let's call it the mini cross here. And on top of here we have the environment. So the environment position sits here. And I think that in this deck, that is the 9 of Pentacles. And then here we have a card that says that this is assisting. What's assisting? Some advice that helps. What's assisting? What can assist the querent? Okay, maybe to make a choice or to look at something in regard to their life, or make a choice. And this would be a card of warning. So this would be a card of like spiritual advice, assistance, and this would be a card of warning. So the card here is the Queen of Rods. So I would try and find out who this person is, or whether the querent in themselves is behaving in a manner that is not to their benefit, which may be closer to the Queen of Wands. behaviour, depending on what they're asking about, or whether it's an actual person in their life that there is a warning about. So here's a karmic card, so a card of lessons. So what lessons probably need to be picked up by the querent. And you've got here a card like the Six of Wands. So it might be lessons about believing in themselves, coming to victory, or believing they deserve victories and accolades. It could be anything. But certainly I think that's a very important card in terms of karma. Not karma as so much fate as so much the lesson. And then you've got sort of an outcome card, a longer term outcome, which we've got the Knight of Pentacles here, and you may have, and I'll also always put an oracle, and in this case I put one of the sovereign oracles that I love, and it's time to actually seek out your new inspiration. Look to other areas to find your aha. Do something novel, call in your muse. And that might be something that we can even put here, like depending on what it's saying. In terms of choice. And here I also may get a different type of oracle, and it again it may be sort of a longer term oracle, and it may be something like, even if we pick up the red seeds, it could be something like I am blame, and you're looking at the back of it, the challenge, patriarchy, the gift, hope. And we can talk to the end of that reading with those two topics and the Knight of Pentacles in his slow journey to resolution. But certainly we're trying to resolve something in this reading, and how to get to a better place if we're starting, which we are in tarot readings, in a place that's already challenging. All we're doing is locating the challenge. And I think that's something that we need to acknowledge. That's actually what we're doing. So that's one version of the Celtic Cross. And as I said, I think Pisky, who I think passed recently, he was an American, very charismatic, intelligent reader of the cards, had a lot to say, and I enjoyed his readings thoroughly. So let's do another spread. So 3 spreads. So that's one Celtic Cross. Let's do a Margaret Peterson. Use another deck. Let's not get bored with the same decks, because when we've got 1,000 decks, we want to use 1,000 decks. So this is the Margaret Peterson. I don't know why I said that. What a slip. This is the Barbara Walker tarot. It happens when you do all these tarot books, and maybe I should have bought her out. I mean, she's a great female deck creator, but her deck doesn't really celebrate, in particular, the Divine Feminine. It does celebrate aspects, but not as much as the decks I think I chose. So let's do another spread. So I guess when I joined the Tarot Guild, maybe I'll do that one. I was shown a spread that basically was another form of a Celtic cross, the pyramid spread. And there's a pyramid here, so maybe, well, there's a triangle at the back here. The above, as above, so below. Father time, it could be anything, couldn't it? She was kind enough to share after, when I was getting tested, her spread with me, and I wrote it down and I've never forgotten it, and I do use it. So this is it in a nutshell, and I think it covers things nicely. So we've got this is the way it lays out. And hopefully you can see it all. I'm using a smaller deck, so that's there. Okay, so here we would call this the past position, the present position, the current position of the querent, And of course, if you want a querent card, you can spend 5 minutes trying to find a card that suits your querent that they pick for themselves. I usually go with their astrology. I find that's a good way to start, but you can do it that way. So that's the current position. These are things that are hidden, that the querent is unaware of. Maybe they're getting manipulated, for example, or another way, depending on how you want to go with the reading and what vibes you're getting off the querent and what you're feeling intuitively and all the magic that happens within you. Maybe what's hidden to the querent is their own ability to manifest and how much power they may have, because you've got the heaven, you've got the earth, you've got the conduit in the middle like a lightning rod, and creating the alchemy of something that's wonderful. It could be that, or it could be simply that they're getting manipulated, and that's the grace of the books that we've just read, because you can go one way or another way depending on what kind of a client you have. So this here are challenges. 7 of Pentacles. I mean, 7 of Pentacles here, yes. Sometimes they look back and there's a whole lot of pentacles and they're looking back at the wealth they've created, but there's a sadness to it. And I've said before, the 7 of Pentacles, I believe, is a card of the futility sometimes of materialism, if you want to look at it that way. That you've created it all, but what are you looking at here? What is he looking at? He's looking between his legs like he's lost his girlfriend and he lost something he loved along the way. There's something that's not there. And in the traditional deck, there's a lot of pentacles he's looking back on. And it could be, yeah, all the seeds that he sowed. He's looking back on his investments and this and that. But in Crowley's deck, I think the word's failure on that card. And I think that card's got a lot in it. All the cards do, but certainly here, the word is failure again. So she's gone with that Thoth. So this is really like a Thoth deck. And I think the failure is the failure of having the balance over the material with the spiritual. And it could be even more. But I mean, we're not here to do a reading, so I should need to hurry up. I still get engrossed in my own readings, even like this. Okay, so this position here, that's a challenge. This position here is the environment. So you've got the 9 of Pentacles. Is it Lord Ganesha? Maybe, maybe not. Certainly it's an elephant. Anyway, he's so cute, that Lord Ganesha, isn't he? He's just a cutie. We love him. And okay, so that's challenge, and this is advice. So the advice here is 7 of Wands. Maybe challenge yourself, step out of your comfort zone. I'm not sure. It's a good little deck. I do like it, and I often use it. So the 7 of Wands, yeah, it's sort of standing your ground sometimes. Here he seems to be juggling firecrackers. I don't know what they are. What's going on in this picture? Some of these decks, you know, some of these decks from the late 70s, early 80s, honestly, they just went all out. They just had no containment. They're just fantastic. But certainly often it's, you know, he's usually on the mountain trying to protect himself. Okay, and then you get a nice outcome, the World 21, completion of a new cycle. The Fool's come to the end of his journey. He's got all the lessons that he needs to learn, and of course there's more to do. But certainly that's I love that as an outcome card, and I would sort of leave it at that. With that type of reading, again, I'd like to put an oracle to it, and I would get an oracle deck and probably throw an oracle here. And if I wanted to know a little bit more also about what's going on here, sometimes I love these little oracles here. There's sort of astrological oracles, and I've edged them as well. As you can see, I keep them in the box because they fly everywhere otherwise. And I might just put something additional there to explain to me what's going on here. Action, momentum, dedication, fixed. So again, we've got a similar card to the strength card. So that's telling us that someone maybe didn't know how to move, or they were too fixed, too stubborn, not agile, not adaptive. And we all know that those that survive are the ones that have the flow, the flexibility, the ability to adapt to the challenges. So all that, you know, the oracles help. That's how I read. So that's a great little spread I learnt from the Tarot Guild, and one that I often use. And I forget how much I love this deck. And I shall put this one back in its little case as well. I shall use a different one for the third one. So that's the Barbara Walker Tarot. And I guess for the third one, let's go to well, why don't we just go to my favourite deck, which is well, maybe not. I won't go to the Aquarian because everyone's seen it. Everyone's seen the Light Seers as well. Maybe we'll just go to the Centennial Smith Waite. Well, let's bring her out. So let's go here. Let's do the third one. This is a great little deck. I often use it when I need to. It's one of the better Smith Waite decks that have come out. I don't mind the yellow box. I know everyone hates it and whinges and this, you know, this, that, and the other, but I've got the classic versions, I've got the Blushing Fool, I've got the blue box, and I've got all of them. And I don't mind the current one. I don't love it as much as I love the old ones, of course, because everyone knows that. But things could be worse. They could have kept that other one where they took Pixie's font writing away from it and did like this stupid computer font. And they quickly got rid of it. Anyway, we move on. So now, I guess this is one that I created that's on my Instagram. I might as well do one that I've created. So, you know, this is my little book. I don't write on each page, but I certainly do a lot of deck, as you can see, deck creation. So what I'll do, there's a lot of spreads, is I'll do my Scorpio Sting spread. And the Scorpio Sting in itself is the reckoning that, I call it the reckoning. It's a reckoning with the self. So I'll show you how it looks and I'll show you the positions. Again, this is a demonstration reading. So okay, and this one I do, I add oracles as well. So the first position is what is currently hidden. The second position is why am I not seeing this? Because you're too emotional. But what are you not seeing? Interesting that the Page of Pentacles comes up. Maybe there's an offer that you're not even understanding. Someone's trying to give you an offer and you're too busy navel gazing. You could be, or you just could be sort of lost in the whirl of the past or something that's that you're still trying to process. Anyway, 3, what area of my life is this affecting? Page of Wands. Well, that's interesting. It could be creativity and just moving forward and getting new ideas and being spontaneous. Maybe you've turned into some kind of person that's not able to be spontaneous and you've become a bore. Boring yourself and everyone else around you. This is not how I read to others, by the way. I'm talking to myself, so I wouldn't say this to a client. No one's going to ever ring me after this reading. Okay, so how can I release this energy? Get on your horse and ride off into the sunset. But obviously I would ask for more here to help me. Is there anything else that needs to be illuminated? Maybe some wounds. So that would open up a conversation that there's wounds. Maybe that's what she's looking at here on a serious note. Or, I mean, it's a queen, but you could have a male querent, and we know that's the feminine energy of, we talk energies, we don't talk the actual sex of the person. So this and this here, totally related. And then the outcome would be the potential transformation that if you tried to, that could occur if you're able to in the future, if you're able to follow this path. And you've got the 5 of swords, so you're going to be fighting with everyone left, right, and centre. No, obviously it's just, again, a minor arcana, and I would throw an oracle on that as well. But in this instance, I would actually throw another card on here, or 3. Sometimes when I need clarification, I tend to throw 3 cards. So I would do another 3. Because I do try and get a major. Oh, well, there you go. There's something. So obviously there's something holding this querent, who's me, back, that if I try and get to the source of the hurt here, while we've got our wounded warrior standing there, because he's been through a lot of battles, but he's standing. He's still standing. What can come out of that? And how can I release this energy would be another card that I would get, maybe more oracles or more tarot, depending on, I mean, I've got oracles around, but I've made such a mess, I'll just stick with this one here and see, you know, how it would read if it was in an advice section. And this is one type of oracle where I actually would read it. Discernment. Establish what is yours and what isn't. Be conscious about your yes. Create preamble boundaries. So maybe the victory here is something, and the challenge here, how can I release this energy, would be to stop, say, a negative energy coming in, or an energy that isn't doing any good to anybody, including themselves, going in. But we're not doing readings, but this is sort of just like a little sample reading. But I mean, one thing I do love, if I'm going to do something like that, is I also have my miniature. I don't know if anyone has the miniature version of this deck. It's the pocket archetype. And, you know, the real size of these is like Gigantor. And, you know, before you can shuffle, you can't shuffle it, you can't do anything. When this came out and it turned up in my, you know, I think it was Amazon, and it turned up like 5 minutes after I brought it to the house. I don't know how they do their magic. And look, you can shuffle it. I haven't edged it yet. I can't figure out what colour to edge it. And then this, I think this is very, very helpful. And, you know, I would even go there, the river. And you've got that noble masculine energy again. So you've got 2 horses here. So sometimes also when you read, I mean, this isn't a reading, this is when you read and you see, you know, let's not talk unicorns, but when you see horses everywhere, what is a horse? And then we go back to John Berger, outside of tarot, but inside tarot. Yes, in tarot, horses often mean there's riders, energy, movement. The idea has now, from the page, taken action and is going forward somewhere. But horses are also, if there was a way to describe the ancient Egyptian culture, it would be a culture of the cat. It was sleek, it was chic, it was rock and roll. If you were to describe the ancient Greek culture, it would be the horse. It's a masculine energy. a noble energy, an energy in the light. That was something that I think Camille Paglia talks about that in her essays, and she's a great social commentator. And I think she talks a lot about the horse and the cat and the feminine and the masculine and the ancient cultures and what they were trying to achieve. And certainly when I see horses, I see a masculine energy. And I would call in that perhaps some of the Queen of Cups may have to just chip away at that and let go of that and try and work this out here like that. And then I would go to the river, and the river is a source of, the Nile was a source of sustenance to its people. And the river is something very important. And we could go into that type of a reading. But anyway, this is my Scorpio Stings, the Reckoning spread, and this is something that I created. And this is how I read. And it's probably a demonstration here of how I would read for a client in a very precise manner, because I would go far deeper. This is just touching on things, and I wasn't going to read the cards at all. I was just going to talk about the positions, but I get drawn in. I draw my own myself in. So it's done. And we'll put these away. So all these miniature little decks, I'll leave them out. They're quite cute. I'll do a show on miniature deck, all my miniature decks. I think you'll enjoy it. I think I'll enjoy it. I love miniature things. So yes, so that's that. What's the next thing? I think we've done our 3 spreads. Okay, 2 bits of paraphernalia. Well, I'm wearing one. Let me take it off. I wear this every day. Actually, let me move these out the way now. I wear a necklace. Hopefully you can see it here. And I'll show you how it works. It's obviously a tarot card, and it's from the Charm Cast Tarot, and she's a creator, I think, on Etsy, and I think I follow her on Instagram as well. And I keep all the cards. Let me just take that out because I don't have that. I keep all the tiles in here. So every single tile is from the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And basically every day I shuffle these around, and in the morning I choose a tile. You need that. Well, I use that to put it in. So that's there. And I'll just shuffle them around. And it's not like I expect that energy to come into my day, but I use it more as a sort of a precaution to watch that energy, depending on the type of energy it is. So I'll then go in and blindly pick a card like I did this morning. And what's come out for us here? Okay, Justice, the 11. So I would look out, like, it's beautiful. It's actually quite fantastic. I just put it on. You don't get the chain, you just get the tile and the magnet. And you don't get that this little doobie thing. This is something that's, you can just get from a chemist. I think it's a blackhead remover. I would never put this on my skin, but anyway, I like having tools. So when I see little things, I always had this, so I always had it on my desk. It does all sorts of different tasks, but now it does this a lot. So it would be justice, and I would, if something happened during the day, I would make sure that, am I being just? If I'm in a situation where I was a HR manager and listening to, say, 2 sides of every story, I would be very conscious of being just in that situation and giving everyone a fair hearing. Because sometimes people come to you and you trust them, and everything they say is true, and then you talk to another person who you barely know, who you think, yeah, but I trust this person. I don't, the point is be just, give everyone a fair hearing, and do a pub test or do whatever you need to do, because there's nothing worse than being unjust, because I certainly believe that if you are, it probably will come back onto you. So everyone wants to be treated fairly and justly. So, and to go without prejudice as well, and preconceived ideas about stuff. So each card has some sort of message every day, and I tend to put it on and sometimes don't think about it. And sometimes if you know, if I'm going to my day job, I'll think about it while I'm on the tram, or sometimes when I'm not going to my day job and just going for a walk, and I think about it. So that's a beautiful little necklace and piece of jewelry that I wear every day, and I haven't stopped wearing it since I bought it, and highly recommend it. It's on Etsy if you want to buy it. And I think it's still on Etsy. I think I saw it recently. I looked up to see if it was still there. And she's got many variations of it. So that's one thing. I guess the other thing I like to use, as you can see, there's many things that I have as paraphernalia. And I guess for me the most important thing is to have the card sitting on a scarf or a cloth or something. I never put my cards directly on any table, desk or floor for readings. I do for photos because sometimes they just works nicely, but for readings I like the energy to be on the I like, it's not just for cleanliness or anything like that. I just don't want any energy from any item coming. I think it's a blocker coming from anywhere. So if I'm at a pub and I've got a bag of cards in my deck and I'm with someone having a drink or something, and we just decide, oh yes, it's quiet enough, let's do a quick 3 card spread and what's going on, and I'll still have the cards in a cloth and put the cloth on the table and do it. And I do enjoy doing that, and that's part of my routine. So that's that part. They're the 2 pieces that I really, and I have many beautiful vintage scarves. I don't take those out a lot. I keep those at home, like here. Like I have this particular one is a Hermes one. It's the Zodiac, the Hermes Zodiac, and I think it came out in the 1960s. I think Jackie Onassis made it very popular, but I think it was popular anyway, and it's a beautiful scarf by Hermes. And I do have many nice vintage scarves that I'll try and put out in accordance to the presentations. So now the last thing, what card would I like to embody, or a piece of advice? I guess if I said anything, I'll give a piece of advice out. I think that when you look at, as a tarot reader, the best thing you can do is read every day. Read the cards every day. Throw cards every day. You don't need to journal because it just takes time and it's probably unnecessary. But you need to read cards every day for yourself and for other people. For other people, you can read as much as you can for other people. When you start, it's best just to read for your friends for the sake of reading. No money, nothing exchanged, maybe a coffee if they want to buy you a coffee. But certainly read with no pressure. Read the cards and let them tell you what they think. But read for yourself every single day. Ask a question and read and see what they're saying. If you can't read for yourself, you're not going to be able to read for other people. And it's a craft and it's an art. It's an art because there's alchemy involved, and it's about, to me, the prime reason of tarot is not divination. It is transformation. It is the ability to transform the viewpoint of the reader and the querent. So the reader has to understand or give something extra to the querent that they're not currently able to see, and that will help them transform and get more positive outcomes. Now, you have to practice reading. Reading is not something that you can just pick up a deck of cards, read a book, and say, yeah, I can read tarot. Yeah, I can do this. I've got this book and I read the meanings and I put them down. And it's the threads between the cards. It's the person sitting next to you. Each card has endless possibilities of meanings in its sphere. So you may have one card, yes, but it doesn't have one meaning. It can have about 10 meanings depending on where it falls, how it falls, and what it's connecting to, and the person sitting next to you. Seven of Pentacles, great example. In many decks, it's just, you should be satisfied with the Seven of Pentacles. You're looking back, blah, blah, blah. It's also a card of dissatisfaction with materialism. And that's barely ever mentioned. I've never had that. No one's ever read that card to me in that way. I'm the only person I know, apart from a few others that I've read about, that do. And I think Jessica Dore, Tarot for Change, mentions that. And also, I guess the biggest piece of advice is to read every day, read constantly, and read honestly. Don't read books like Fearless Tarot, for sure, where he puts a positive spin on every card. That's great too. It's great to know that the devil can be positive, but you need to look at what you're looking at honestly and convey what you're seeing honestly. Don't try and make the reader feel comfortable when you're getting when they're getting crap cards, because it's telling them that they're in a crappy situation, and if they keep going the same way, they're just going to get the same crappy outcomes. You're best to read honestly. So read every day, read 2 pieces of advice. But anyway, I've spoken too much. But that's what's going on there. So until next time, I do hope you have enjoyed this very long presentation. But I saw some other presentations that were very long, so I thought I'd go with the flow with this one. So thank you, everybody, and good evening, and have a good night. Or a good day, depending on where in the world you are. Blessings.